Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Hello, hello, hello.
So, I have as my guest tonight, YesIamJames, and as I said before, in the spirit of good old-fashioned circle joking, I will now be interviewing him. I've categorised everything the way Watcher Azazel does, because it's fun to categorise things. I found it quite easy to do that with the questions, the kinds of questions that YesIamJames got. So, are you ready?
I'm ready, but before I start there, I'd just like to say that me and Alex are considering making this a semi-regular thing, perhaps once every couple of weeks, and having a few guests on. So, if you're interested in that, let us know in the comment section, and we can chat.
Yay! Okie dokie then. So, the first category are joke questions. The first is, why do I have difficulty coming up with questions to ask?
Because you're an idiot? I don't know! It's like you who asked that question.
No.
Okay. I'm guessing it must have been Tracy then, by how shocked you were.
I'm sure you can make it out to her later.
Yeah, I hate doing these things live because I never have a witty answer. So I'd be like sitting there for 5 minutes trying to think of something witty. So first thing which came to my head, you're an idiot. I'm an idiot too, so it's all good.
We're all
Sorry, Tracy.
Of all the women who have made you sandwiches, who makes the best?
That would be Miss Hannah Minx.
Oh, okay. So what kind of sandwiches are they kind of like?
That was lovely. It had 2 types of cheese. One of them was like a herby cheese. The other one was, I can't remember what it was now. It had bacon, some mushroom, and egg.
Uh-huh. I always think the most important thing about a sandwich is that you cut them diagonally. I honestly think they taste better if they're cut diagonally.
Maybe. I'm sure that's placebo. I just have them whole and just shove the whole thing in my mouth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was in that Miss Hannah Minx thing was in reference to one of my latest videos where I jokingly said that she made me a sandwich.
Oh, right, okay.
I haven't actually visited her.
Oh, right. Oh, I see. So you just had to make that thing up. I think there's a sandwich recipe I know. I'm going to have to look up. It's got red onion and Lincolnshire sausages and some kind of, is it like an onion marmalade? It's very nice. We have onion marmalade in the UK, by the way.
I've had it before.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah. Well, for the audience who may not know, because we actually have in my area we have bacon jam.
Bacon jam?
Yep. It's very specific to my particular area of London.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Oh, you think it won't pull the tourists?
No, not much of a tourist part, I don't think.
Right, okay. The next one is slightly oddly written. You like being British in it. I think it's only a question because it ends in it. I think you like being British.
Okay, I'm going to guess that was from Gunderson.
Am I supposed to tell you if you guessed? Because I already did once.
Yeah.
And that's not
Why not?
There are quite a few Gunderson questions, but not that one.
Okay, yeah, and it's only if I guess first time, I think.
Okay. Fair enough.
We're just making up the rules as we go along, aren't we? And I suppose the answer is yes, I like being British because I can speak properly. Sorry, I'm going to be apologising so much during this. Well, actually, no, I'm not. This is the joke section, by the way, so if I say something like that, for the audience who might get their knickers in a twist, that's... that's called a joke. So
yes, exactly. It's all in good fun. I'm going to translate the next question from that user as this actually makes me think of something from the sitcom Spaced. basically, do you have any phobias of like animals or insects? And
No.
part two of, no, oh right, nothing. So, because part two of that question is it your biggest fear that those two, like if you were scared of snakes or scared of spiders, or no, both, would your biggest fear be that they would combine to breed into like an evil super race that would overthrow humanity?
That would be awesome. That would just be awesome. So no, not a big fear.
Not a fear, more of a hope. You're probably going to go and breed them in your laboratory now. Or not breed, gene splice. Yes, a snake with legs on its own, even before it's an evil super race. It's quite a nifty idea.
Well, snakes do actually have the genes which encode for legs. It's just usually those genes are deformed, so they never end up developing. Just like humans on occasions can be born with tails, and whales can be born with legs, chickens can be born with teeth. And that's one of the things which proves evolution. You only ever see those traits emerge in a creature where its ancestors had those traits. You'd never see, for example, a pig with wings or anything like that, because at no point during its history did pigs ever have wings. Whereas on the creationism model, there is no reason to believe that something like that is impossible. So if creationists can find a centaur or a maybe not a unicorn, but if they can find a centaur or a griffin or anything like that, then well done, you've just disproved evolution. But not gonna.
Yeah, and pigs will fly.
But they won't.
It's just the accuracy of that expression. Like the day that happens is the day pigs will fly. So we now know how appropriate and accurate that phrase is.
Exactly.
Is anyone sexier than Gunderson?
Only about 6 billion people.
So he's still sexier than 1 billion people.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Do you want to hazard a guess as to who asked that question?
Could that have been Gunderson?
I suspect you're correct. The next question, and obviously I can't tell you who asked this.
It was Gunderson.
The next one is, will you fuck me? I'm a little bit more picky than Alex, so purely based on probability, I'm going to say no. Okay. Do you want to guess who asked that? It's a very unfair question without knowing who asked, really, isn't it?
I'm going to guess they're male.
They are male, yes. Okay, that's a good enough guess. Right, I've put this under joke question, but I'm not entirely sure. There might be a reference I don't get. Are you a vulture or an anteater? How does this affect your stance on intactivism? I don't know if intactivism is a misspelling. I think maybe it's meant to be inactivism.
Intactivist, I'm going to guess. Since it's about intactivism, that's going to be Watcher Azazel who asked that.
Aha.
But yeah, intactivists are the people who think that circumcision is wrong. Right.
Oh, right. Okay.
That quite a good word.
Oh.
I don't know. I can't think of a witty answer for that question. There may be something to do with vultures and anteaters and their penises, but I have no idea. So
right.
I'll probably at the end of the interview I'll probably come back with some really witty one-liner, and you'll be, what the fuck? I'll go, that's the anteater thing. Okay, only an hour too late. Maybe I can edit that back.
Right. Now we have a very tricky one. This will require some thought.
Mm-hmm.
You are on a combi bomb with 2 blickles, one of which is fiddle-waggled. You only have enough flumshinkle to ectospamble one of them. Which blickle do you ectospambleize and why?
I would ectospamble splandulize the one which looks like Gunderson.
Ooh, right, that's interesting. Okay, I'll warn Gunderson that you want to ecto-spamble him. So, do you want to guess who asked that question?
Was it Gunderson?
No, I would assume that anybody would immediately know that was me.
Okay. I wasn't aware that you you put questions in, so.
Oh yes, I did. I assumed.
I would have, yeah. Otherwise,
yeah.
Straight away.
Right. Final joke question. Why do they call someone late if they died early?
Because saying they're late doesn't refer to their... saying they're late just refers to them being dead. It doesn't refer to them to when they died. So I guess that's it. I'm sure there's got to be a punchline to that, but like I said, I'm not quick-witted enough at the moment.
Late, as in the late Arthur Dent. Some people may get the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference there. But Smarty Bart's trying to make a joke. Yeah. And okay, that brings us to the end of joke questions.
Okay, that wasn't as traumatizing as I thought it was going to be. You know, as I said I think I mentioned in the previous interview, I hate doing these kind of things live.
Yes. Okay, the first science question is, this is quite a simple, basic one, and there won't be any controversy about this. What do you think created the universe?
I don't know.
Nobody knows!
Nobody knows! But not the God of the Bible, or any other theistic god. I'm pretty damn certain of that.
What do you think of the idea of a deist god, or...?
It's possible. It's certainly yet to be proven. And I think for it to be worthy of the title God, it has to at least have a motive for what it's doing. For it to be a theistic God, it also has to have will and be able to influence things. I think that's fair enough. A deist God, it certainly has to have a motive, and so you'd expect by looking at the universe there'd be something in it which looks designed. You know, it would actually be quite fine-tuned for life, whereas you actually look at the universe and the vast majority of it is completely inhospitable. Earth, the only place, is the only place we can have life in the solar system without some severe modification from us. Yeah. And, that's such a tiny fraction of the overall mass. So, I don't see enough, I don't see the universe as being well enough designed, as it were, to warrant believing that it was created by a creature or an entity with any form of will or purpose. I think that's about the best I can answer that, really.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the universe just doesn't... How can people insist that the universe looks designed? I also will again cite Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and say that we were I forget the name of the creature, but the universe was sneezed out of a creature's nose, and it was an accident. As far as that creature's concerned, it's just, and of course we must all live in fear of the coming of the Great White Handkerchief.
Yeah, if a dog shits in the middle of a field, there might be loads of bacteria living in that shit. If you were one of those bacteria and you had any form of consciousness, you may look at that shit and think it's really well designed and it was designed for you for a purpose. Yeah. But as far as the dog's concerned, he just gave a shit. That's all there is to it. if the God did create the universe, he certainly doesn't care about us, and I don't think he meant to do it.
Yeah, I could go along with that. And right, here's a good one. Have you ever had ideas for an invention? For example, right now the wind is blowing desert sand through my window screens, and there is fine powder covering everything inside where I don't want it to be. Why haven't men, in block capitals, why haven't men come up with a solution to fix this for me? So we'll just go with the actual question, which is, have you ever had ideas for an invention?
I constantly have ideas for inventions. I just never write them down and end up forgetting about them. So it's one thing I'm trying to do now more is keep a notebook with me and write down ideas when they pop into my head. Yeah,
that's what I'm like. Keep it, because you're going to have ideas in inconvenient places. So you need a notepad in your toilet, not in the toilet, in the bathroom, and by your bed. Because you will have ideas in the worst possible times. I have ideas for inventions, but I don't. But only in the sense of why doesn't that exist, or does that exist? That should exist. But I wouldn't be able to patent them because I wouldn't know how to design them.
You don't bother to follow it through and think and look, has someone actually made this sort of thing.
I think I have done, but I can't think of any examples right now. As a kid, because I was a very fussy eater, of course, as a kid, I was like, why isn't there something that exists solely to eliminate the flavour of something you tried and didn't like? I know you can sort of spray mint in your mouth, or just suck a mint or chew gum, but something that exists maybe a spray purely for that purpose, it just eliminates the flavour of the thing that made you go, ugh.
You know, this is on QI, there's actually a pill with some sort of plant extract or something, which eliminates, which basically numbs your sour taste buds. So if you take that and then bite into a lemon or a lime, it tastes really sweet, and you lose all of the sourness from it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, apparently it's amazing. Apparently lemons after those taste absolutely amazing.
Wow. Oh, cool. There is, of course, a danger there, though, where you have those taste buds for a reason, so you shouldn't, drink a pint of vinegar, for example.
Well, yeah.
This was where I caught, because I've seen Darren Brown live, and to demonstrate somebody being in a trance on stage, he has a pint of vinegar, and he gets an audience member to smell it, a few audience members to smell it and agree that it's vinegar. And this girl drinks it. This girl, quote unquote, from the audience, knocks back an entire pint of vinegar, and then she does loads of other things because she's supposed to be hypnotised. And when you get to you're out of the trance now, and she's on stage what? I'm blurry-eyed. Why am I on stage? What's happening? Okay, she was in a trance when she drank the vinegar. That's how we know she was in a trance. The second that you're out of, you're no longer under hypnosis, you would know from your stomach. You go, ugh. You'd suddenly be ill. So I think I was like, that bit of the show was a bit fake, I think.
Maybe, and I know certain things which are apparently, impossible unless you're in a trance, you can actually do. Someone was mentioned something about hypnotists making people eat onions and think they're apples, and then they're like, well, hang on, have we tried let's actually try eating an onion when I know I'm not in a trance, and can I do it without grimacing too much? And, they could, it's not pleasant, but you can do it.
In some countries, that's the traditional way you treat your own cold. I had some Lithuanian guests, and they thought absolutely nothing of peeling an onion and eating it like an apple. That's what they do if they have a cold. So it's actually normal in some countries.
Back to the inventions thing. I either don't write the inventions down, or the ideas I have would be so insanely expensive to produce. There just wouldn't be an economic market for selling those products. I come up with a lot of ideas for computer game technology and stuff.
Okay.
I think some of them are pretty good, but some of them are insanely expensive. One problem you get with virtual reality is what the fuck do you do about your legs? You know, you can have VR goggles on and some sort of gun in your hand and look around and all of that stuff, but you need to actually move with your legs, to make it actually feel realistic, or lose some level of control in either your fingers or one of your arms or something like that. And I came up with an idea of, it's like a lens-shaped thing facing, like an upside-down umbrella, that kind of shape, but more squashed, with lots of little balls on it, so which sense when they're being turned. So if you walk forward on it, you'll roll back to the centre, and you should be able to run and stuff like that, and sidestep and all of those kind of things. But it would probably end up costing about 10 grand or something stupid, and they're just, the average game, there just wouldn't be enough people willing to pay for it to actually make sense and be a profitable invention.
I think it might come down in price over time because of filmmakers, like for Gollum, for the Avatar, for the Na'vi in Avatar. I mean, that's basically what they do to create those characters and get the realistic motion, isn't it? So it's
the motion capture suits and stuff. I mean, like, you've still got to work within a confined area, or you have to have a massive studio in order to do it. And I mean, that's the real problem until we can just jack ourselves into the Matrix.
Okay. So, in future, I would advise, don't forget, if you're in conversation and an idea comes to you, get a friend that you trust to remember for you if you haven't got a pen. Remind you, you said something about inventing whatever, Okay, now here's a very, very important science question, age-old science question. If the Wicked Witch of the West melts in water, how did she ever bathe?
Well, lots of people historically never bathed. So maybe she just never bathed. Maybe that's why she's so mean, because people don't want to talk to her, and she's just lonely and misunderstood.
I think so.
Explain why the skin's all green and warts and all of that stuff.
I think that's a pretty good answer. I would say, yes, she lives alone in a castle apart from a load of rat people who probably aren't as bothered by the stink. I can actually give an answer to the question, which is in the Wicked books, which the show is based on. It says that she washes in oil. There's another answer for the Wicked musical, but that would count as a spoiler. But I like your theory too.
Okay.
Why do people constantly return to the refrigerator with hopes that something new to eat will have materialized? Blind faith and desperation. Yeah, so expecting manna from heaven, basically.
Exactly, yes.
If black is the absence of light, then what is the colour of transparency?
Black is the absence of light, then...
What is the colour of transparency?
Transparency is the absence of colour. That's easy enough.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Nice simple answer. How can it be determined that my experience of consciousness is the same as anyone else's experience of consciousness?
Ooh. That's a good question. I suppose the best we can do is MRI machines, make sure that the same areas are lighting up and all of that crap. Perhaps in the future we'll have technology where we can see down to the individual neuron and dendrite level. But I think we'll definitely be able to get to the stage where we can say it's consciousness is subjective but very similar between different people, or perhaps very different.
Ah.
But
okay.
yeah, I'm just bullshitting now. I don't know. But yeah, that's about the best I can answer that question.
It's better than I could have managed at all, because I think I would just have said, I don't know, and I don't think you can be totally sure. But
and we can certainly we might be able to do more experiments with animals and see how consciousness varies between different species. Like I think Dawkins suggested that it may be that bats may perceive different textures in a very similar way that to us seeing different colours. For example, we might be able to see with MRI scans that yes, that's exactly what's going on. And then of course you've got synesthesia, where people perceive one sense as another, or perceive one sense in two or more different ways. So
yeah. Okay, next science question is: what in sci-fi that is not yet discovered or invented, but theoretically possible, that you would like to come true? Example, you can't have sonic screwdriver as they do now exist, but something having a greater surface area within than without, like the TARDIS, is only possible in theoretical physics and could have uses. Any gadget, any process or experiment you want, but has to be something as yet only the dream of a sci-fi writer you think useful or would benefit mankind. Pick a few if you wish.
Okay, first thing, they meant larger inside volume, not surface area.
Oh, okay.
I had to nitpick that, really. Yeah, TARDIS. That would be excellent, of course. Let's see. Certainly, having neutrino communication, that would just be awesome, because then you don't have to bounce the signal up to 40,000 miles and then to a satellite, and then down to something on Earth and back to another satellite and back down to someone else and then get the signal back again. Having light travel up to 100,000 200,000 kilometers. You can have it. You'd be able to have a signal sent straight through the center of the Earth, making communication much, much faster. So for playing games, that would be amazing. I'm sure there's far more serious purposes for it as well, which could be useful. The Matrix, but without the whole kind of robots controlling everything, would be brilliant. I mentioned the TARDIS, didn't I?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interplanetary, traveling, terraforming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what terraforming is.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully the rest of the audience knows as well. There's hundreds or thousands of things in sci-fi which would just be amazing to have in reality. I mean, that's the whole point of the genre, really.
Actually, I've sort of thought about terraforming that had never occurred to me before, which is you could do everything except getting that planet into the Goldilocks position. So would you need some other thing to do to actually, or would terraforming include affecting the weight, gravity, density, volume, whatever, of that planet? And how
I mean, there's a few ways you could do it. I mean, if you want to just go for the sheer brute force method, you probably could push a planet into orbit, but you'd need something insanely powerful, more than we'll be capable of doing for the next few hundred years, probably. You could have a thicker atmosphere which traps more heat in. Then you could have millions of mirrors orbiting the planet, which turn towards it and focus the light onto it, making it warmer. you could set off some sort of thermonuclear explosion in the core, which produces an insane amount of heat, maybe massive antimatter bomb, although that may end up destroying the planet, but it might work. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of ways you could do it, or just maybe big fucking biodomes, which are heated or cooled to the right amount, and the outside of the planet is still completely. The outside of those domes is still completely inhospitable. You know, there's quite a few ways of doing it.
Oh, okay. Could we actually make an artificial moon which would function as our moon functions for the Earth?
For gravity, unless we find some way of creating vast amounts of artificial gravity, then the only way to do it would be to have something the same weight as the moon, which would be ridiculous. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's not easy being a god.
No.
Okie dokie, that was a good... and that brings us to the end of science questions.
Yeah,
so
was that just page 1 of science questions?
Sorry?
That's just page 1 of science questions, wasn't it?
No, I must have gone down both... sorry, there was only 1 page of science questions, and we've got 2 pages of ethics and politics. So do you want to carry on? Because we're only 4 minutes in.
Yeah, let's do it. We're 5.5 minutes in. Yeah.
Oh, we are? Oh, okay. Right. Okay, so now we have ethics and politics. So, do you no prizes for guessing who asked this. Do you think there are any men's rights issues more important than circumcision?
That was Watcher Azazel.
Yep.
I think, I do think circumcision is a pretty big one. You know, the genital mutilation of over 1 billion people, pretty important. Yeah. But yeah, bigger than circumcision. False rape allegations certainly have sort of a devastating effect. Although I don't know what that is in terms of numbers. Like, if you the damage times number of people affected and compare that to circumcision, probably substantially less. That's about all I can think of at the moment. But I mean, that it is quite subjective.
Okay. Well, there are more questions to do with men's rights later, so I think we'll probably touch upon some of those issues with.
And I'll probably bring something up later as well.
Yeah. Okay. Is Jesus an ethical standard that humanity can set for itself without the miracles? So I think, in other words, if none of the paranormal claims in the Bible are true, is following the moral teaching of Jesus still a good idea? I think is the basic gist of that.
Certainly, but just, don't take everything for gospel. If he says something which seems a bit, if there's anything that he says which seems a bit ethically bankrupt, ignore those parts,
I think people may not
do that. Follow me. You don't need to follow anybody.
We're all individuals. But yeah, quite, yeah. Yes, if what someone teaches is a good idea, then it doesn't matter if they walked on water. And I would say, this came up recently, because I said that I like the book of Matthew and always have, and there aren't any crazy bits, and then the person I was Gunderson listed all the crazy, stupid bits in the book of Matthew, which I wasn't aware of. Yeah. But there's stuff in there, it came up recently, do not announce your acts of righteousness with trumpets as the hypocrites do. And actually, you think of the number of people, probably who do call themselves Christians, who let them they donate money to a hospital. There's a ward named after them. Look at me handing over this massive check to charity. I'm a good person. Vote for me. All the announcing with. But were there really people going around announcing with trumpets? Is he literal? The hypocrites used to go, look at me. I'm giving money to charity. I'm a good person.
Maybe. I'm going to guess Bossman for that question.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yes.
He's asked you. What do you think of marriage? If there were another socially acceptable arrangement people could make for the purpose of raising children, would people choose it?
Not a huge fan of marriage personally, but I think it should be the individual person's choice. Also, I don't think that married people should have special treatment by government. They shouldn't get tax breaks or special privileges and all of that kind of stuff. Because, as far as I'm concerned, that's basically social engineering. That's the government basically rewarding people for behaving in the way that they want to do it. So yeah, even including gay marriage. What about people who just don't want to get married? What about people who are in polygamous relationships? What about people who just want to stay single? Yeah. So that's my view. I mean, if you want to get married, that's your choice. But I don't think the government should have any involvement in it whatsoever, except recognising these people are married. That's it.
Yeah. I also would say this question, the way the question is phrased, implies that there is as if there were. So it implies that there isn't another quote unquote socially acceptable arrangement for raising children. When you sort of think, what are these unacceptable arrangements for raising children? If either it's safe and ethical and responsible and loving, or it isn't. So
yeah.
And it could be a married couple and be horrible parents. Why do so many people assume feminists are lesbians, but rarely do people think MRAs are gay?
I'd say probably it might be because the other negative stereotype of MRAs conflicts with that quite heavily. There's people who think that the MRAs are just this bunch of traditionalists who want women back in the kitchen and blah, blah, blah. And, if they're associating that with the MRM, then they may also assume that we're all right-wing homophobes as well. So,
right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think there's people who assume that people are in, people are MRAs because they can't get laid and shit, which is bullshit. I think male feminists in general probably tend to have a harder time getting laid than MRAs.
Okay. If you saved someone's life and later they killed 6 people, are you responsible for those 6 deaths? Why or why not?
If you no, you're not responsible. Unless there was some way that you were to know that they were going to kill 6 people immediately after and be reasonably sure of it. No, you're not responsible. You can't be held accountable for something which you have no way of knowing.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. You still ultimately you did the right thing. It happened in Star Trek actually, that someone saves someone's life. They're going to be, and then later on they are that planet's equivalent of Hitler. But ultimately, you instinctively leap in front of the car to save that person's life because they're a human life, and you don't know they're the next Hitler. So
exactly, yeah. I mean, you may feel a bit guilty about it, but still, it's not your fault.
Yeah. Okay, I think there's time for one more question in this segment. Unfortunately, the question is, what would it take for you to be free of this MRA nonsense?
For men to actually have decent rights?
Nice, succinct answer, okay?
Who was that from? Cases and Materials?
No, actually. I don't think he asked the question. I'll tell you I'll tell you later.
No, I guessed. I'm not allowed to know. I got it wrong. I'm not allowed to know now.
Okay, so continuing with ethics and politics, is there any way that us in the developed world can continue to live relatively secure lives without exploiting the rest of the world in the process?
Ooh. That is a good question. The optimist in me would really like to say yes, and I am siding with the optimist side of me at the moment. It's just a matter of solving certain problems we have, such as producing enough power, which we could do once we suss fusion, producing enough food, clean water, all of those things. If science can get us the solutions to those problems, then yes, I think certainly for the foreseeable future, we're still going to have problems with poverty, but we could eventually move away from exploiting Africa. I mean, it is a problem at the moment. Part of me thinks that slavery never went away; it was just shifted out of sight. Like the way the American prison system works, there's the conviction rate for African Americans is insanely high, and they get them to work. They get them to work in there and and that kind of thing. I mean, that's basically slavery as it is. And as for Africa and some of the poorer parts of Asia, we're now getting them to do labour very, very cheaply for us, manufacturing products we want and getting them imported. So, in a way, slavery never really went away. I think it certainly improved, but I think eventually we will be able to get to the stage where we're not exploiting the rest of the world, but it's going to take time.
Yeah. Okay, good answer. Was American intervention in Vietnam justified considering, the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese government aggressor, or was it wrong considering the South's similar level of tyranny?
I honestly haven't researched it enough to say for definite that yes, it was completely 100% justified, but from the very little I do know, it does seem like something had to be done, but I could be completely wrong.
Right, okay.
Because my little knowledge I do know comes from very patriotic American films. there is a chance I could be wrong.
The last two questions were from the same user. Do you want to guess who asked those?
Not yet.
Okay. Right, here's a long one. Male rape is considered acceptable in comedy. Example, a peep show episode shows a man being forced by a woman. Get him to the Greek, features male rape as a joke and the victim is fined 2 days. When in Doctor Who, there was a comedy scene where Amy wouldn't take no for an answer and the doctor had to fight her off, having said no repeatedly. The complaint was that Amy was being slutty and a bad role model, and she is mainly criticized by feminists for wearing short skirts. No means no was totally ignored. Thoughts? Question mark.
Completely. When it comes to the subject of male rape, male victims of rape, it's not taken seriously at all. Another thing feminists bring up quite a bit, 1991, marital rape was made illegal. Feminists will say, this is terrible. Men could rape their wives could rape their wives just over 20 years ago. But presumably it was legal for wives to rape their husbands at that point. I believe it was 1993, the UN had some form of Violence Against Women Act. It wasn't called the Violence Against Women Act, yeah, that's the American thing, but it was something very similar. And it was made a violation of human rights for a woman to be maritally raped and or genitally mutilated, among other things.
Right.
Not a human rights violation when a man's being raped or for a man to be genitally mutilated, even now. Right. But yeah, there's plenty of ways that men can be raped, and it's just considered funny by lots of people. Women can, and even on the Young Turks, there's been plenty of events where, a teacher in their 30s has seduced a boy in his sort of mid-teens, and people are just like, oh yeah, luckiest guy on earth, and that kind of thing. There's a guy who was drugged and then fingered till he bled by a woman, and they thought that was funny as well. But yeah, no, I don't think it's... well, I suppose anything can be acceptable in comedy if it's done in the right way. But it certainly does need to be taken a lot more seriously than it is.
Yeah, well, the fact that Peep Show dedicated the whole episode to the Mark character being raped by a woman, and it's supposed to be funny that it happened, it's supposed to be funny that he's treated as the bad guy. No sitcom, I mean, if a sitcom in the UK, a Peep Show is a very popular, long-running sitcom in the UK, if a UK sitcom dedicated a half-hour episode to making jokes about a woman being raped, I think no matter how it was done, it would not ever see broadcast. I would imagine.
Another thing I saw on the X Factor, because my dad watches it, they showed some clip from of this Asian woman named Goldie, and she was chasing one of the judges around the floor because, to try to rub herself up against him or something. If that was the other way round, if that was a man chasing one of the female judges around, I mean, I'd give it 2-3 seconds before security pounced on him.
Yeah. But also, say you talked about the legality of domestic rape and some things in the UN. It's not a violation of a man's right. Under UK law, it's not even called rape if it's a woman doing it to a man. She would only be charged with sexual assault. Yeah. And rape by envelopment as well. I mean, I've been with some women who are considerably bigger than me. If I was lying down and they wanted to do that to me, they could certainly do that. And the penis isn't this indestructible fucking weapon. It can be quite easy to damage. I mean, I'm sure you've stubbed it a few times, and it does fucking hurt. If someone is, and that's without any form of violence there. If someone was forcing themselves on you, you certainly could do plenty of damage. And of course, no one would consider it a defence if there's a man on trial for rape, and he says, "Oh well, she got wet, so she obviously wanted it." It's an involuntary reaction, and so is getting an erection. Yeah. Okay. Right, oh dear. Why are you a card-carrying member of the MRA? You don't seem like a misogynist.
Well, maybe I'm just secretly a misogynist.
Maybe. Is there anything else you want to add?
The MRA card, that was, I showed that in a video a while ago. I've just got a laminator and a printer, and I wanted to play around with my new toy, so I thought it'd be funny to make an atheist and an MRA card.
Oh, excellent. Right, you've stated in at least one video that you are an MRA because you believe that men face more problems and issues in society than women, such as the high suicide rate, dying earlier, ignored when the victims of domestic violence, shafted in most divorce cases, etc. However, wouldn't you agree that no one is making laws against men, that all of these problems are the result of social bias, and that if men simply defied their gender roles and sought help, then the problems would solve themselves?
A few things to respond to there. Firstly, there are a lot of problems men face which are self-inflicted. Women certainly don't help us in that regard. If a woman sees you crying, if you're going out with a woman, she sees you crying, you give it a few days and she'll probably dump you. At least from friends and stuff.
Yeah.
There are laws which are biased against men. For example, the rape laws which we just mentioned. Men also have basically no reproductive rights whatsoever. If a woman doesn't want to have a child, then she can tell the guy to wear a condom. She could she can take the pill. She can take the morning after pill. She can have an abortion, or she can put the child up for adoption, failing all of those things. For a guy, condom slips, get a woman pregnant. You're basically if you don't want to have a kid, you're basically her bitch for the next 18 years. And that is completely wrong. We don't force women to take parental responsibility against their will, and men deserve the same right there.
Right.
And sure, that some of the Republicans want to take away women's rights to abortion and that kind of thing, and I'm completely on the same side as the feminists who are against them. But they have reproductive rights at the moment. Men don't.
Yeah.
And then there's also things like the draft as well, and a few other things which I can't think of off the top of my head.
In Switzerland, it's odd how we always think of Switzerland because they were neutral in one war. We think of them as so as a kind of pacifist nation. In Switzerland, every male over the age of 15 has to own a gun because, it depends on the household, but I mean, if you have at least one male over the age of 15 in the house has to have it, even if it's kept unloaded in a safe, because you're automatically a member of the reserve army the second you turn 15, but only if you're male. So the assumption of women aren't warlike, men are warlike is already there. You could be a pacifist, you could be against gun ownership, and you have to have one by law. It's like, oh, you have a penis. Oh, you need a gun to go with that.
At 15, that's pretty shocking. Which country did you say that was again?
Switzerland.
Switzerland? Fuck.
Yeah.
That's, I wouldn't have expected that from somewhere in Europe. And I mean, as far as war's concerned, men really are treated like shit. If a male is killed as a civilian casualty, if a male is killed, say in Iraq or somewhere like that, by the U.S. Army, they're automatically counted as a combatant, whereas women and children aren't.
Yeah. The Quran actually even has rules about non-combatants. It's women and children you're never supposed to kill unless you happen to kill them by accident in a night raid. You can't deliberately kill women and children in a war. This came up in discussion last night, talking about things as well, which I've seen on stage quite a few times, and the two big really tearful moments you can hear the audience. One of the things about theatre, you can hear the audience crying are Gavroche's death on the barricade. But Gavroche is a child who's gone to fight in the revolution. And Eponine's death. And Eponine is one of those characters who don't know the show, who dresses as a boy to fight in the front, which is quite interesting in the very fact that male children could fight, according to that culture, but fully grown women dress as a boy, And it's sort of understandable the audience are going to cry at the sight of a child being shot dead. Eponine also gets hit. Big death moment. But the truth is, lots of people die in that play. It's about a war. But most of them are young men. And instinctively, I actually even said, no matter how sexist it is, no matter how unfair on men or patronising to women, if I were in the story of Les Mis and I had a choice between jumping in the bullet of taking a bullet for one of the male characters and taking a bullet for Eponine, I would instinctively take the bullet for Eponine. And my girlfriend said, yes, it's a natural evolutionary thing because women carry children, women tend only to be able to carry one at a time. It's been an important, hardwired evolutionary thing that we are more protective of women, and a woman dying in a war seems worse to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it's an evolutionary thing for male disposability and protecting women, but just because it's an evolutionary behaviour doesn't make it automatically right. Just as we may find there's an evolutionary reason for racism or homophobia or murder or even rape. That doesn't make any of those things any less horrific. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to protecting women, like you said, women are the ones who carry the children. They're very limited in how many children they can have and the rate they can have them, whereas men aren't. And this makes women, made women in the past more valuable than men. But of course, like I said, that doesn't mean that this means we shouldn't have to challenge those behaviours. Today, those behaviours don't, serve us a disadvantage. Another example would be our urge to eat sweet and fatty food. In the past, we wouldn't have found a duck roasting in its own juices. Getting hold of fat and sugar was very, very difficult to do. So, so getting those things was important. As today, they lead to obesity because we can just go down the shop and get a big pack of cakes and sit on our arse and go on the computer for 14 hours straight. So yeah, today when it comes to male disposability, it's irrelevant because we now have various forms of contraception, and people aren't having dozens of children. Women maybe have, say, 2 children on average, and they're not spending half their adult life pregnant and unable to work. So eliminating the male disposability aspects and working towards more equal roles is important.
Okay. One final question on ethics and politics. What are your thoughts on family values?
How do you define family values in that question?
I don't know. I can tell you that question came from a Christian, if that has any bearing. It is quite vague, isn't it?
It is vague. Define family and define values. I mean, I think it's important to have family. They're the only people which, unless you do something absolutely horrific, they're the only people you can guarantee are going to be there for you for your whole life, or until one of them dies. So having family is very important. I'm quite lax in that area. I should make more effort with my family. But if you're talking about like the Family Value Commission or whatever the fuck it is in America, the big homophobic organisation, then obviously bastards.
Okie dokie, right, well, now we're moving swiftly on to the final category, which is just called General. Okay, I'll just shoot. Is there anybody who used to upload videos but left some time ago, as in left YouTube, and you really, really miss them?
I do miss Ghost Casper. She did put up a video recently. I'm not sure if it's been privated or anything or not yet. So I shouldn't say about that in case it has. But
right. Okay.
yeah, I miss Ghost Casper. I'm sure there's loads which I've just kind of forgotten about. But
yeah, which on Full Prime just YouTube decided recently.
Yeah.
And yeah, some people just stop making videos, and some people YouTube decide for whatever reason, and but no. So Ghost Casper would be one that you really, really wish would come back and make more videos.
Yeah. John Paul Prime, isn't he the one who thought that violence against men is less important than violence against women because when women slap you, it doesn't do very much damage?
Oh, did he say that? I've heard a few criticisms of him. I don't think I ever actually saw a video of him when he was talking on those issues. But then he hasn't made videos for quite some time. Yeah, I think he's been criticised for quite a few things that he...
I mean, it might not have been him, so I'm not going to say certain that it was.
Okay.
I think it was, but I could be wrong. If it was him, John the Other did an excellent response to the video, where he said, well, I think violence against men is just as bad, but since you think women are so weak that it doesn't hurt if they slap you, then I've got an idea. Why don't we do a fundraiser? We can get women to queue up and pay $1 to slap you, and put all that money towards women's shelters. No response.
Actually, but that might be the only thing that I ever heard of John the Other saying that was intelligent. I don't like John the Other.
Oh, okay. I've never had any. I've had minor disagreements with him. I haven't had anything which really made me think, "What the fuck?"
I'm trying to think what he said or did that I didn't like, but it might have been so long ago that I don't really care. So it's an interview. I'm not meant to be expressing opinions.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You're not an opinions interviewer.
Is there a topic you wish moderates to cover? I'll explain this question again. Came from a Christian, so I assume they mean moderates. Like, what should the moderate Christians be talking about?
Ooh. Moderate Christians. I suppose they should be more working more against the extremists. I know a few of them do, but there's a lot of the moderates, and this goes for not just Christians, but feminists and MRAs and all sorts of other groups. But yeah, I mean, the moderates should be doing more to distance themselves from the extremists rather than pretending that they don't exist or that they're such an extreme minority that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. What's your favourite song?
Favourite song? Really, really does depend on my mood.
I'll actually help you out here because it actually has S in brackets, so I wasn't quite sure how to phrase that. So, what's your favourite song or your favourite songs? So you can have a few if it's difficult to choose.
Yeah. I'm struggling to think of favourite songs at the moment, but I do like rock and metal, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. I like quite a lot of comedy songs as well. Do you know a guy called John LaJose on YouTube?
No, I don't think I do.
Yeah, he's got some fantastic comedy songs. Highly recommend you check them out.
Okie dokie, no recommendation. Then maybe we can. I'll link. You send me a link later. I'll link him in the description of this video.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an excellent question. What do you think of Alex's book so far?
Yeah, so far, really enjoyed it, especially when they got to... I can't really give anything away, can I?
You can give a few spoilers, because you're only 32 pages in, aren't you?
I am, yeah. When they got... all of the stuff about the Institute was just brilliant.
Oh, thank you. So,
now they... Canary, but I can't give anything away.
Oh, you don't. Oh, Canary. Oh, right. Yes. I think a few people have remarked on that part. I had a particular person in mind. Do you know Annie from Being Human?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the actress I was visualising.
You just, yeah.
So,
I don't say anymore in case I give it away.
yeah, okay. But anybody who's reading the beginning of the book or has read the book, well, that'll mean something to them. So, yes. What opinions of yours have changed the most since you came to YouTube? That is quite a hard one, isn't it?
That is a hard one. I've changed lots of opinions, but I'm again struggling to think of anything at the moment. Being put on the spot quite heavily.
Yeah.
I think I've certainly begun to see people more as individuals. You know, I like the moderate Christians more. I despise the fundamentalists, but at the same time, I despise the fundamentalists even more. There's some of the moderate feminists who I do really like and don't have any problem with whatsoever, but my disdain for the radicals has grown beyond belief. So, you know, rather than just looking and thinking, Christian, idiot, feminist, idiot, I see them more individually, and I want to know more about the specifics of what they believe.
Yeah, I would actually agree in the context of the big debate, actually, which I've almost given up on. The big debate has become a question of people becoming friends or people becoming enemies, regardless of any supposed divide between deists.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I mean, basically, I think I've certainly become a lot more open-minded towards new ideas. I mean, yeah, I'm not open-minded towards Christianity. You know, I've gone into it enough to know that it's complete bullshit. But you know, more willing to view what they believe as individual beliefs rather than part of one homogenous group. So, yeah.
Okay. If you suddenly found yourself turned into a woman, how would you spend your day?
Oh, good question. Of course, first thing I'd do is masturbate. You just would.
Yes.
See what it's like to have multiple orgasms. I suppose being in the MRM, I'd like to see how different I am treated by society as a woman.
Yeah.
You know, be able to understand that a bit better. I mean, does it have? I suppose it would affect my hormones and things as well, wouldn't it? Being a woman.
The question kind of implies you're a woman for a day, but if that was the day that was the wrong time, that was in the wrong time of the month, that'd be fucking unlucky, wouldn't it?
You know, regardless, I'm going to have 8 times less testosterone, I suppose, and more estrogen and those kind of things, and they are going to have a psychological effect. So it would be interesting to see whether I thought differently and how that influenced my ability to perform at different tasks and that kind of thing. So that would be quite interesting from a sort of scientific perspective, although there could be a placebo element to that as well.
Yeah, I think you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. When I read that question, I immediately thought, try every sex toy and go with as many men and women as possible. This would be our only ever chance to have lesbian sex, because you'd have to be a woman first. Yeah, but
you'd have to have lesbian sex, wouldn't you?
Yes, definitely. But yeah, also the brainy stuff about how society treats you as well, obviously, if you have time with all the shagging and masturbation going on. But anyway, so, final question. If you could interview any small YouTube uploader, let's say 2 or 3 figures, and any large YouTube uploader, let's say 4 figures and upwards, which would they be?
Okay, so 4 figures and upwards. I'm going to say Darren Brown, just because it would be awesome to actually meet him and have a chat with him. So yeah, Darren Brown for the big channel. For the small channel, that is a bit tougher, but since I can't think of anything else at the moment, I'm going to say Warren Farrell. He is quite famous, but mainly outside YouTube. On YouTube, he is still a small channel, so he counts.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll link both of those in the description. If they ever hear this, maybe you'll get your chance. So, yes. Well, thank you very much for a wonderful interview. And as we've said at the top of this interview, we'll be having a regular kind of discussion thing, probably starting at the end of this year. So you'll be hearing from both of us again shortly. But for now, bye.
Pleasure as always, Alex. And everybody else, I shall see you soon. Bye.